Well, thank you everyone to being here. I appreciate a lot. We will have today an hour to just try to bring up to the table something about co-designing and trying to talk about that. So it's just a couple of tools that maybe you feel like, or situations that you find several times in your code. So I thought that and discussing with the team, it was interesting to talk about that because it's helped us to have clean code. So I think it would be interesting for everyone who every day got this issue and try to thinking about how can improve that situation about a lot of is. So let me do here. Okay. So this and the title of the call is because I am a huge Marvel fan, so you will enjoy. I hope you enjoy the travel like me, and we try to trying to get some fun in the middle of this coding session. Okay, we will talk about the introduction, and then well, the nutshell of the issue will be we'll start solving a simple problem, and then we will go bust it on the last problem. We will go to a complex problem. So, and then we will talk about the pros and cons. We will just to summarize, to discover the hacks that we can accomplish this situation. And then maybe if we have some time, we will try to have a Q&A. So who I am? I am David. I'm working in Copius for the last 6 months. I am working with the climate team as a backend engineer. I worked on several roles, but today is playing on the backend. I work in a lot of languages, but today the demo will be done in JavaScript because I think that is a pretty simpler it's a simple language. Everyone maybe deal or fight or suffer JavaScript in some way. So I think I will use ECMA 6 in the sense of using classes because it's useful for thinking about object-oriented. So what will we do? What will we do? We will try to solve two problems, as I mentioned at the initial. We to manage the expectation, what will I do? I will solve it in a simple and quick way as first. Just may will be kind of the problem are deterministics in some way, in the sense of the results are accurate. We are not a we will not check boundaries. We will check the problems are code simple, but the main idea is just arrive to a solution that is maybe a common situation, and then through refactoring and using some techniques, we arrive to a position that we avoid using if and arrive to maybe simpler solution, and maybe bring you a couple of ideas. Describe the issues so we'll understand what we done, and then always these problems we do apply in TDD. As I mentioned, with some licenses, as I mentioned, are deterministic, but simple. And I try to make some stuff quicker for the sake of bring the call some kind of speed, because if not, we will maybe the talk will be longer than expected. So first round, I love the cars. So the both problems are related to cars. And the first one is related to a driver that wants to put a gear in his car. And after that, he wants to know which is the max speed that the car can achieve with that gear. So we will solve using TDD, as I mentioned, based on test, implement later a better approach. But the first time we will implement a quite simple approach using ifs. So for being clear in the problem solution, we have a driver that executes the first gear and is expected that the driver travel in 20 kilometers per hour, or 20. We expected 20. The second gear will return 50. The third gear will return 80. The fourth gear will return 100. And every other situation, every other pattern will return 0 as default, okay? So let's code it. Here is the project I created for this. We have the solution. This will be the endpoint that I will implement the solution. We will use a class driver because we will test in driver, and we will use car, and then we will use the other. This is method will be used for the other solution, the complex program. And we will start for the gear test. We have kind of function that allow us to run it quickly. So we should, the idea of this, we will see the test, which just we know which is expected, and we will send the gear, and we are expecting the speed in a simple number. Okay, so we'll start doing TDD first gear, and it's expected to run in 20. Okay, so let's run the test. The test is failing because it's not implemented. So we will go here. As I mentioned, I will take some licenses in the TDD technique, but let's assume I have a driver. And it has a dependency, a car, because if it's driver, it should drive a car, right? And then driver, check max speed with here. Okay, typo. Anyway, this will fail because we don't nothing implemented. This I will create the constructor of the driver. Okay, and the check max speed is a method that will go here and the gear. Okay, so let's solve the first test. It said here, if gear, let's use context because it will be easy later to refactor the things. Okay, if gear car first gear, and I will use here what I did in the test. So we can do this, and then for the sake of simplicity, I will do the same. And that's it. Suppose we have a bunch of logic here. 50 lines of logic. Just follow me here and return 20. Okay. And the first test is running. And for the modifications I did in the test label, you can see that the shoot car has maximum speed as 20 when the driver executes the first gear. We can do now, following the idea, do for the second. I have a typo here. I will fix it. And the second is expected to have 50. The third, the fourth, another. Just to tackle all the scenarios that we talk about for describing. 80 for the third gear and 100 for the other one. Okay, and 0 for expected one. So second gear, let's do with the third. Let's do it with the fourth. And that's it for the moment. So it's easy to understand which is the next step, right? Solving for the second. and it was expected 50. So if we run the test, we solve the second test, but we still have to fix other tests, right? So let's do it. Remember, I am doing just a simple solution for fixing the test. Okay, if the gear car third gear return 80, and because maybe I have a problem with third gear here, 80. If gear, I'm sending maybe the TDD helps. And we solve the third one. So we are good. And we will solve the other one. And we will solve the other situation. That means that whatever situation, sorry, we are good. All tests are running. So we are good up to now. Of course, we can see that is the problem, right? Because we have a lot of repeated code. We have maybe the logic will be different. We are solving logic for 20 and several. We are solving logic for this, and we are solving logic for I don't know. But at the end of the day, if it will be real, we have a method with 100 lines. You can say, well, we start to solving because we are breaking encapsulation and we are having a lot of problems here. So can you see the code? I will try to make it bigger a little bit so we can see it better. Let's try to move it to the unresponsible of this. So let's move it and create the return this car get max speed at first here. Okay. We start to doing something. Sorry. Because I don't have JavaScript. I know. And this, all the tests are still running. The same we can do for the other one. So we will do per second. I know in this moment the solution is quite simple, but we can do it. Okay. And we can do it for this. And we can do it for this. And of course, I will do that. We are expecting 80. So the solution, think about this. I am doing this. And we have this. Okay. And the test is still running. So we are using the possibility of the quick feedback about the test to knowing that the refactor we are doing are working and the logic is still working fine. But we still have the problem here because we are seeing that we didn't solve the issue about the if. And it is a common situation because we have a who didn't see that kind of situation that they have a bunch of if and we are still seeing this situation. We will use for this situation, we will use a hack that will be in this way. Let's create this. I will save that in a branch. Git and so I leave it in the repository. I will share the repository later, so you will have the possibility to jump into repositories to see the solution and see which step and play on your own. So it will be easy for you to understand and follow in the idea. So I will do here, I will create the object or more kind of object-oriented solution. And we are here. So as I mentioned, I will use a constructor. And here's the catch. This and we will create a map that use. I will map this constant with the function, but the function as an object, okay? And I will do the same one for the second. I will the same for the third. Would be nice here to do also each implementation, but for the sake to being quick in the call. And this is another good practice is to having default because to avoid null pointer exception, okay? So default is something like this. And then the default will reduce just a lambda function that returns 0. So we still have this problem and how it should work. We will do in this way. Instead of doing this, the solution is how is the name of this stuff? We will give the gear, and if it doesn't exist, we'll get the default. And then, and this is it. All the tests are running. But this idea, using a map to encapsulate the logic about the if, is also known that this kind of web of state pattern. It also helps us to, if we need another condition, first at all, we move the logic to the correct owner of the logic to knowing about, because the car owns, which is the speed across to the ear, because the car knows his engine. So in this way, we avoid to using if, and the solution is quite simple, right? And we solve the problem. But let's go to this is the first example, and it was the simple one. Now, I will solve the second problem. The second oh, are you back? Okay, the second round. Now the second round will be a little bit more complex because now we want to check, we will have two kind of drivers. Up to here, how we are going now. So far, so good. Any questions? How we are now? Any question? Marcos, go ahead. Yeah.
No, sorry, everything is okay. I just wanted to say that. Sorry.
Okay. Is it clear up to now for everyone?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So let's go to the second problem that is a little bit more complex, but also show us a situation that we will arrive at a situation that also is very common because we will arrive in the situation of having a lot of ifs and nested if. That is something that also we find. Also, we will use TDD for that. So I will explain the context of the problem first, as we did with the last one, so we can understand the logic I will implement it. What is about? Wait a second. I have an expert driver and I have an standard driver. Both, they will check the engine that they are using eco fuel, and they expect different performance. If the driver is an expert, the performance expected will be 100. But if it is a standard driver, the eco fuel will be 80. Okay, are we good on that? But then if we check with semi-eco fuel, the performance expected is 80 with an expert driver, and the performance expected will be 60 if the standard driver is using semi-eco fuel. And then standard fuel, the performance will decrease also for the expert driver. The car will have 60 and the standard fuel will 40. And for any other condition, I mean, for any kind of other driver that we don't define in our problem, we will have 330 as the default result. That is okay. This is the context of the problem that we will solve here. Okay, so let's code it. Not yet. Okay. Okay, here we are. I will save that first. Gears. So I push that and then engines. If. Okay, so for this situation, the test, I will use this. Wait a second. Okay, okay, no worries. I have as the other problem, I have described the situation when the driver is expert, we'll expect this performance. With the driver is a common person, we expect this performance. And any other situation will be 30. I will send an object which I explain the driver type and the fuel type, and I expect that return the performance. So I will use constants again because it's easy to understand and easy to follow and easy to code. So let's do it. So we are saying that driver dot expert. I don't have driver, so I have to import it. I don't have the constant. I will create it. Okay. And then fuel type. We will know the car will use eco fuel. Eco fuel. That's it. And we expect the performance is 100. Okay. So the test, we are fixing this. So we will run the test. We can see nothing works because nothing is implemented yet. We have this, but we don't have anything else. So for respecting, I will use the same because we will use the same constructor. But now makes sense for this. I remember I will do the very pretty simple solution first to make the test run. So makes sense in this situation that the drivers know which driver is type. So I send that. And if I go here, for the sake of not breaking encapsulation and not breaking other tests, I will use as default driver.expert, and I will save this attribute as an attribute. Okay, and then the car makes sense. Maybe that also is part of the properties of the car to know which kind of fuel is using. So inside of the constructor of the car, I don't know where I leave it. Here it is. I know this. Okay. Okay. We are good up to now. So far, so good. But the test is still not running. So return driver dot check performance. Check and shine. Let's do this. This name can be better, but for the sake of, and we are here, right? Anyway, the test is not running. We're still not running. So let's start with a simple solution. If driver this punto driver type is equals to driver expert, and if this car is using fuel, because in this time I learned something and I don't want to break this encapsulation, I return 100. And which kind of fuel? Car eco fuel. Let's implement it. Okay. And for the car that it is, I will implement this method. Okay. Where are you, man? Here. Here. And I say fuel and return this fuel type equals fuel, because I don't want to break this encapsulation in this time. So is the test running? Yes, we solve it. Now we know that. Let's do it with the other three types. We can respect that. We set semi and we create a constant and standard. Okay. And we are expected to get it 80 and 60. Okay. Of course, running the test first, as the TDD technique says, we are failing. So we will make it run. First, create a constant because it's easy. And then create the other one. Okay, but we solve some logic, but still is, and I guess everyone can advise, can guess that the solution is quite simple, right? We do, who didn't copy and paste? Every developer technique, you know, semi-eco fuel, and we expect to get 80. Second test is running, and a standard fuel. Sorry, that's it. So we solve the problem, right? We have the first part solved, but let's do with the second part that we talk about standard drivers. Maybe as it's easy to create the other ones. Sorry for my errors or my typos. So here we are, but the tests are not running. Okay, so let's fix them. And the solution could be pretty similar as we do before. We do it standard because I'm now checking the context. And we'll say with eco fuel, we said that it goes with 80. Can you recall, remember? 80 will be the expected for a standard, 60, 80, 60, and 40. Okay? So 80, 60, and 40. All tests are running. Okay. The thing is, I was said, okay, we saw in the last problem that I can add here that we can assume that, okay, I have a bunch of logic. Imagine that, okay, because it's very common to see that, okay, that's seen and a lot of if nested with a bunch of logic everywhere to solve this situation, okay. But we have also 3 conditions more that we know. Every driver, other, with no matter the fuel, we return 30, as it said here. We said that also with any kind of fuel, also we will have 30. And also, sorry for my English, I know that the ears is aching. We have these tests that are not working. So we solve that in this case with a default solution. And now we have all the tests running. Okay, so we solve the problem, right? We see, but the problem is easy to see, right? We have a bunch of if, a lot of conditions, and this is a common situation that we can find in the code that we see this and how do we refactor this kind of situation? So I will commit that uh, okay, and I will start the solution with object-oriented concepts. This is the funny one, and I hope I will try to make it quick to not spend too much time. We are good on time, but I will. Sorry, I can later. I will it. Sorry. Here we go. Okay. Well, which is the hack of doing that? In how we solve that, I will. The idea of this, when we have this kind of situation, I know that not all of kind of ifs can be refactored in the same way, but in this situation we can see besides breaking encapsulation, besides broken repeated code and all the smells that we can see here, because we had a lot of smells here. Besides, we have a method that maybe has for sure over 100 lines, not easy to debug, not easy to configure it in the test. But which is the hack here to improve this kind of situation? Well, if we can see here, the idea is when we set up the driver type is a context where this context tells us that this logic happened. And this driver here or this if tell us about this logic is happened. So how we can solve that in the sense of extract the logic that we can think, okay, I don't need to have this and at least extract this context. Well, one solution and one kind of solution that is easy to do is this. I will create the class expert driver. Okay. And I will create the class standard driver. And I will copy and paste this method. And the solution is this. I will leave for the moment that the performance for default will be 30 because I need to know that. And here is the idea. I don't need this anymore. And I don't need to check the if anymore because I am in the expert driver, right? The same idea is for a standard driver. At least we are better than before because we have at least split the problem in two different situations. But we didn't make it run here. We need for this to create a factory. So const. And also before that, I will create that, but I will jump to the other place. We can see now that we don't need to send anymore the type of driver because we are splitting in this responsibility in classes. So it's not necessary to doing that anymore. And now we create a factory. So we have the expert driver class. And we also need default. In this case, I will use the car because we need to avoid the null point. And at least in this program, we need some kind of something happen if someone send us something that is not accurate with that. So I will create that in this case. Okay. And at least we have the factory here. And instead of doing that, the thing is with this. Give me the driver type or give me default. And then we create and I think the test is still running again because we forgot to add here a problem. Yeah, no worries, we will solve it later. But then again, we solve it here. We still need to solve this kind of solution because we still have problems with this kind of problem. We need to know what happens with other type of cars. So what will I do? Because the problem here is this. So I will try to solve it and we still have the problem about of ifs. When we have this bunch of ifs, it's also say that to us that they are context. They are context with that are meaning for this. So we can do that. And I will apply the same solution and I applied before. I said, okay. Everyone is following me up to now. Everyone with any doubt up to now? Everyone is following me? We are good up to now? I take that silence as yes. Okay,
Yeah,
and
I
I
got a
will
lot of
create.
thumbs up.
Okay, thank you, thank you. I'm not seeing the screen, sorry, but okay. I will create now, if we work with that, and how we solve that, because we still have the ifs. Well, the ifs is this, with this kind. Return this car, this, in this place, we will use polymorphism, the characteristic of polymorphism to fix the situation. This car, check engine performance with expert driver. Okay, and I will implement that in the car class. And I will set return 30 because always the default behavior for the cars will return that. And I set here, and we will implement that in all kind of cars. We override this method and we migrate this logic with the eco fuel. You can see that it starts to be cleaner. I'm not saying that it may be take a little bit of time, but it's cleaner. And this logic doesn't make any sense anymore. And the same situation here. Instead of this, check performance with a standard driver. So I will override this method here, and we will use the logic that comes from here to, for the sake of being quick and not jumping because it's maybe something, but I guess you got now the idea. Okay, because I'm saying I'm refactoring this for a quickly way, and everything is out. Okay, but this is still not working because we're still missing to implement the logic to get the correct car, to inject the proper car. We are doing some kind of independent inversion of control because we are creating the class, the proper class, based on some strategy way, and then we are injected into the proper object that we need to work, and we are creating proper objects. So I create our class I will create. We created the cars factory? No, we didn't. I have to create it. Const car class factory. Or did I create it? And I think so. And I do that. So we have car eco fuel. We will have the car eco fuel. Car with eco fuel. Okay. Then we have the car with standard fuel. And for sure, default, because we saw that is a good pattern. So we have the car class factory, and will get me that car that is approached to this fuel, or give me the default. Okay, and instead of doing that, I will inject this. One more thing, because we are creating the proper driver, the proper class, and injecting everyone's note each responsibility, its own responsibility. And we also see that we don't need anymore. I have been going up, going up. This method is not needed anymore, so we can delete it. And we can see that we don't need to send to the constructor anything else. Okay, so we are good. And I think if I run the test again, nothing works. It's obvious because I have to check what is the problem. Okay. Wait a second. Okay. Expert driver, standard driver, expert driver, Let me debug it. It can fail. Let's. I have the class driver type or driver class driver. I have expert driver. Wait a second. Expert driver. Standard driver. Return. Class driver. Is expert driver with the car. And then F7. Here we go. Sorry. Wait me a second. I will solve that. Check expert driver. Wait me a second. Which is the problem? Let me debug it. We are okay. We have a driver. Check performance. This car is a class with echo. Check performance with that. I have here. I have the problem. I cannot find the solution. Wait me a second. Okay. It's not a function. Why JavaScript doesn't like it? Well, no problem. I will find it later. Wait a second. And you can see I have the solution here, and I will run again. I don't want to waste your time. This is the same, pretty much. It's another practice that I made for this talk, but everything is running. And you can see in the same solution, I am using the car class factory and I'm using the class default I obtained in that, and it's running the same idea, okay? Returning the check performance for a standard driver, a check performance for expert driver. I will solve it. I don't want to waste your time now finding a simple bug, but the idea is here, right? You are seeing that I am refactor that. I forgot to delete that in this branch, but you can see here, all the solution is here. I'm using other, I am using this, and use the same idea, okay? So, conclusions. If we use the if way, you can see that is maybe the simple and the quicker implementation. Is pretty much the most quick way of solving a problem. But we give us a high coupling solution with low cohesion, with an emic class incomplete objects, and brick encapsulation, spaghetti code, and new condition means a new getting more complex. With using the object-oriented way, we can see that reduce the coupling and we have high cohesion, but is maybe for simple if situations is an over design. Okay, so maybe it's applied when we have this kind of situation where we have over 100 lines to solve some issue, right? So we split the problem in each kind of situation, right? And we more complexity, we have the problem is increasing with more complexity if we use the if way, but in this way we split the complexity in other place. What is the hack here? Okay, if the contains is a context, the if contains a context, we can be the if can be replaced by the class. The other hack is if the conditions are nested, it means that we can split this condition in another class or in another component that help us to replace that solution. And the last but not least, the test matters because all the solution works. Besides, I have some bug, I will fix that. But the thing is, the test matters because always show us how good we are doing the things. So the tests are always important to make it run, make it right, refactor, and make the test run, and make it fast is the last approach that we need to follow. But always is important to test for validated that everything is working besides that. Thank you so much. And sorry, I over 2 minutes, but open for questions. Thank you so much. Any questions? I will stop sharing for the moment, but I can share again if needed. Okay, well, you can ping me if you need me. We can talk together. We can pair with something if you need me to see this problem again to resolve something. I open. You can find me in a Slack on any place. I am seeing something in a chat. Yeah, I will share I will share the repo link for sure. I will share that I solved the problem and I will leave here the solution for sure. No problem. So you can debug it. And line 138. Okay, I will check it for sure is the problem. Let's do it, Ava. Let's because I want to not.
We can share the
Eh,
repo also on Slack.
yeah, I will share in Slack and I will share on the sliders for sure. I will share everything there. You can take a look and please don't hesitate to ping me and find some questions, because maybe I couldn't find here. It was so quick for the sake of making it in an hour. You know, code living is sometimes is difficult. Well, that's it. I will share it. Thank you so much to being here and share with me this moment.
Thank you,
See you.
David.
Bye bye.
I
Bye
think
bye. Thank
Marcos.
you.
Marcos
Bye
has
Marcos.
bye.
a question.
Yes. So sorry, it came to my mind a question right now.
No, that's good.
Um, a very nice presentation, David.
Thank you,
I
Marcos.
wanted to ask you if besides the factories you use in code to make it better and so on, maybe it would be nice also to know in which cases different design pattern would apply, right? Not only the factory. Let's say in some place you are using, I don't know, the command pattern or the strategy or whatever.
Yeah.
It would be nice to know in which case is one or the other. So uh,
Yeah. In this
it's
case,
more,
yeah, let's jump to the code again. I would like to, can you see my
I know
screen?
there are, yeah, more complex ones like, I don't know, visitor or whatever. And it depends a lot of the code you are writing, which design pattern solves that issue. But
Okay.
I don't know, it could be a nice to have an analogy.
I think the problem, let me check if you were right. Car class 5. Here, car class. I am using that. I don't know why it's failing. Okay, but it's failing. Anyway, well, here is the problem. You were right. This is the problem. I fix it. Okay. The Of course, the main, and thank you for your suggestion for sure. I think the problem is that always the idea of, in this case, for the sake of the presentation, I create a factory pattern because it's easier in the sense of it's just a hash map. You understand that you can see that the problem, besides it's simple, the refactor is complex, right? Because I'm creating something that maybe is not easy to follow and you have to pay attention, but it's not easy to follow. For sure, in this case, if you have complex object to build, in this case, I have to build a complex object that the constructor has a nothing, or maybe, but if you need, for example, to use, create one thing is the creational patterns. In this case, I use factory, but if you have to create a complex object that depends on the attributes that are adding to the object, we create different object, a builder can be used here. So for the sake of the presentation, it's quite simple to use a factory, but maybe instead of that, I can use a method. Okay, give me the correct object based on several params or something that comes here, or several logic, and then I will create the correct object using a builder. That is one way. Later, then maybe the presentation was targeted to show, okay, we have a lot of if problems. I will, okay, we have a lot of if problems, and then we wanted to to solve and take out the if. The logic that may be applied to, okay, I need to know here is maybe something that is maybe out of the scope and we can investigate. But visitor, for example, makes sense if we do something in one class and check something here, go back to the object that take the logic and return and do the things. It's all about the pattern itself. We can talk a lot about the visitor pattern, but anyway, the thing is, maybe not the approach of this talk is talk about, I touch in very light way a lot of pattern. I touch, I think, in a huge way TDD, but the thing is, the thing is how to refactor when we have a lot of ifs. Maybe this is the approach. Makes sense what I said? Maybe we can shine later and discuss a particular problem if you have, and we can talk about that. Make sense?
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Thank you. No, you're welcome. Other question? Well, thank you so much, guys. Thank you everyone to being here to share with me at the end of this pass. See you later. I will up all the repository link, and I will upload the films, the slides. So we can, and if you have new questions or something, don't be shy and ping me in the channel. Thank you. See you
Thank
later.
you.